Good evening from the UK. It's Morgan here, host and founder of Self Pub Fest, which if you've been seeing the videos on YouTube and on the website, hopefully you'll be familiar with. We have covered characters before, but you only need one new person, one person different in a panel, and it's a whole entire different conversation. So edit that bit out later. So I'm delighted to be joined by regulars Daniel Furl and SJ Sarah Banham, talking about characters. I'm going to read the blurb that I have on the Self Pub website, but we will be talking about these and other topics to do with characters. So how do you name your characters? How do you make them distinctive in looks and voice? Do you base them on people you know? Who are your favourite characters from fiction you've read? It's a very general overview. Obviously, we'll be talking about our characters. So I'm going to start with Daniel.
I was going to be very gentlemanly for
Oh,
this
were you?
time and actually let all women go first.
Okay. Well, let's go with Sarah, and we'll talk about because you both write different genres. So perhaps you talk about either any of those topics I've just mentioned, or how your genres vary. So yes, SJ, over to you. We've got SJ and HJ in the room.
Yeah, so I write
Yeah,
as HJ Furl as well,
yeah,
Sarah.
right. Yeah, I write as SJ Banham. So
Oh,
there's a lot of J's going around
there
today.
are a few J's
Um,
today.
Made a couple of notes so that I can just refer to them because my brain doesn't always work, certainly not this time of day. Um, when it comes to names, I kind of I feel like there's two ways I go. I can either have a name already and make the character fit the name, or I have an idea of what my character is like, and I choose a name that suits their personality. But it might be something that pertains to their personality and brings to the story. So it might be that they need to have a really strong name to carry their part of the plot, or it might be that it's quite a whimsical name.
Mm.
In my current um, work in progress, which I would love to say I'll publish it this year, but time's getting on. Um, I've got three very strong names for, I suppose, essentially the three main characters. So it's a romantic story. It's a heartbreaking story, but it's a love story essentially. My main character is called August, and she's I've got a photo of her here actually, but she's a redhead. She's about 32, long hair. Excuse me. My main male character is called Oliver, and that name came to me before the character came to me. And the whimsical name is I've got a tiny little woman who's she's probably about 25, I would say, 25, 26 kind of age. She's very short. She's absolutely filled with energy. She's got a pixie cut, blue hair, and her name is Pixie.
Ooh.
And her surname is Pickford. And when she was growing up, everyone called her Pix, and it got elongated to Pixie. And she's tiny. She's like a blue version of Tinkerbell, really. And she's just so whimsical and funny, and doesn't have boundaries. So very much full on active. And so yeah, her name's Pixie, and it absolutely fits her everything about her. Yeah.
Because obviously names imply ages. So if you've got
Mm.
somebody called Susan, she might be a lot of the older names are coming back, but that would sort of imply that it'd be a women's magazine story about a lady in her 50s, probably. So I love the fact, apart from the fact that it's my birthday month, our birthday month. Yes,
Happy
it's
birthdays.
your birthday. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Your birthday was a few days before mine. Um, and yes, I love the fact you've gone for an unusual name. I want to call all my characters Elliot.
Oh.
And I was topping up one of the local book swap libraries the other day, and there was a police car sitting nearby, and I just he wound the window down because it was clear I wanted to speak to him. And I said, I write crime, and who would I speak to get some advice or run something past? And he said, well, it's probably community teams, and
Oh,
gave me his card. And he was called Elliot. And I didn't notice, I didn't look at his card while I was there. But I just have this fixation for Elliot. So I want to call,
do
can
you
we
have
call him or
a
call you?
fixation over the spelling as well?
Well, he's ELLIOTT.
Okay.
So either one T or two T's.
Mm.
There is a picture which I have on my notice board behind my computer, of a picture of a very handsome young man in Harry Potter glasses, who the pictures, I was sorting out paperwork this afternoon, and the pictures are years old, and it's just one I really like. I should get it and show it. I will in a minute. And I've called him Elliot. Whether he is or not, I don't know. But yes, he's.
It's interesting, Morgan, because one of those Elliot names might well be rarer than the other because you've got so many different spelling combinations of a name like that.
Yeah.
The world's your oyster, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. But have you ever found, Sarah, we'll go on to Daniel in a second. Have you ever found, I mean, you may or may not remember, whether you've called a character something and then actually found that it doesn't suit them and you've had to change them?
Yeah, for some reason over the years I've had an issue with the name Dean, and I've given a lot of baddies the name Dean. I don't know
Right.
why. I'm not sure if I've even ever met anyone called Dean.
Right.
But
A
it's
plumber's called Dean.
he's not a baddie.
He's a nasty piece of
Um,
work.
but I've had a character that wasn't acting up to his horrible personality, and in the end I slapped Dean on him and it worked.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why. It's just like so if anyone out there called Dean, I'm sorry.
Right. How funny. How funny. So, Daniel, how do you find your names? Because
Right.
I have a nerdy Excel spreadsheet, A to Z down the left hand side, and then if I'll have, well, in fact, I'll have all the names A to Z down the left hand side, and then shaded in pink if they're a girl and blue if they're a boy, so it's easy
Wow.
to see. And because I write so many short stories, I have then columns. So I have the novel or the short story title at the top, and then I just tick the box whenever I use them. So I try not to use the same name. And I write, I haven't got it around somewhere. I get commissioned occasionally to write stories, short stories, usually for children. And so I was selling some of those when I was doing craft fairs. I'd print them out and printed one per name, and ended up with over 4,000 names and sort of lugging around 6 boxes. And each
It's great
story
use Excel, though.
was
I'm
4
impressed.
pages. So I have over 4,000 names. So in theory, but I don't know if I have August actually as a name. But that's my publishing company, August Publishing. So I probably wouldn't use it as a name.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I have a dog called Gus, so he's in there. He's
Good
in
name.
there as well. So yeah, sorry, Daniel. Did you
Well, I'm going to
about
answer
your
this.
name?
Well, first of all, I've probably got 7 or 8 books on Amazon, just as a bit of background, of which one is a novel. As I explained to Morgan last time we spoke, I'm now so busy with so many different things in my life, that I don't really get an awful lot of time to certainly to write a novel. So I've written one novel, 2 novellas, but I've probably got five anthologies of short stories. So, like you, Morgan, I've written one hell of a lot of short stories.
Mm.
What I've done, I've given you an answer. I'm going to read it all out. It does give a slight example. It won't take long.
Okay,
Here we
great.
go.
No, great.
So, I go to great lengths to ensure that my names relate to the year of the story. Finding names to fit the baby's year of birth is easy. Just Google baby names and the year.
Mm.
As for historical names, as in the story Heathen from Basque Love Stories, a witch trial set in 1644, they require extra careful research, and the meaning of a name can add intrigue, as with Julia and Alice in Heathen.
Mm.
Here's a quick bit. Friday the 9th of December, 1644, nightfall. Julia, an uncommon name in those times, meaning youthful or love's child, derived from the soft, downy facial hair that appears on the face of an adolescent girl. Petit, with two T's, from the French petit, hung dead for a full 11 hours. It was the peasant Seth who cut her off the noose. Her mystical lover, the child witch, Alice. She's a white witch, very young, rather like your, Dixie character.
Dixie, yeah.
Dixie, uh, her mystical lover, the child witch Alice, truthful of noble birth, who breathed fresh life into her that she might live to haunt you all. So, yeah, I thought, well, Julia, there's no way the name like Julia is going to be around. So I spent an awful lot of time researching, and there were Julias
Right.
around in 1644.
Wow.
I think the problem I've got is I've almost had to use some names twice. I've written so many characters, but I find naming a very enjoyable part of writing.
Mm.
I
No,
do.
it's a great idea that you've researched, because aren't we lucky to have so much information at our hands,
We are.
at our fingertips? This is my Elliot, by the way.
Oh,
So
very
that,
Oh
nice.
yeah.
yeah, for some reason I just love this picture, and I thought I was going to throw it away, and I just thought, no, he's been with me for years.
He looks like a cross between University Challenge and an American high school.
Yes, yes, it's very, yes.
I'm just about to share with you the two
Oh
pictures
yes,
of my. Now I've not shared this at all with anyone, so this
okay.
is an official.
Hot
This
off the
is
press.
August and Oliver.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Yeah, I haven't got one of Pixie. Well, I have, but I haven't got one printed out of Pixie.
Okay.
But you can imagine what she looks like just purely from her name and the
Yes.
description I just gave you.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you've got the name and you've got the face, more or less everything just falls into place. If one of those things, for me anyway, if one of those things is missing, and you're writing a scene that's pretty heavy, and you need their personality to really take hold and their traits to really progress the story. If something is missing, everything is off. Everything has got to fall into place just nicely. There's a character who is pretty much what the story is about. He's dead, and his name is Justin. And to be honest, it didn't really matter what his name was, because he's talked about, and so much of everyone's responses are about him. He was the glue holding everyone together.
Right.
So Justin didn't matter too much, but his mum is very upper class society in America, socialite kind of Hollywood, and it needed to work for her family. So some names I think lend themselves to class as well.
Yes.
So it's kind of funny just hearing a name and instantly going, instantly going, I know from that name, like Rupert or something, you'd know that it wasn't just, someone that's just hanging around.
You could well be talking about my wife here, Annabelle, who is very much, she won't mind my saying, she's very much a middle class person, aren't you, Annabelle? Oh, there we are.
Hello.
Nice to
Hello,
see you.
lovely to see you.
Yeah, I'll let you get them.
There we are. Very
Um,
different background to me.
it's interesting. You've both talked about description. Lee Child is infamous for not describing in too much detail the Jack Reacher character, but obviously by his capabilities, it shows us his build effectively. When he's towering over people. How much detail, Daniel? How much detail do you put in about your character's appearance in your books?
Well, really, we're talking about the look, aren't we? Really now.
Yes.
Okay, so this is what I wrote. Again, I spend a lot of time. I search and search until I find the right physical appearance, the right facial fit for my character.
Mm.
Um, I used to use glossy magazines like Hello.
Mm.
Now I just surf the net, find that body, that head, that face, that torso, those muscly arms, or the slender waist, whichever. Um, and I then I put myself in their shoes. How do they feel, speak, behave, react, love, have sex, keep fit, eat, sleep, dream, imagine?
Mm.
Do they have a distinguishing facial or bodily feature?
Mm.
And I've got a little bit here again, which is just so very much about that little feature that you can apply to a character.
Okay.
It's from Hearts and Minds, my non-fiction book, semi. Steve, a pontificating yob. This is the background. Steve, a pontificating yob who Daniel is harassed by. Daniel's the narrator of the book at the local pub in Lowlife from Hearts and Minds. Has a particularly nasty case of something, which I'll come on to. This is Daniel speaking. As soon as I'd reached the awning over the paved slab beer garden, I felt someone grip my wrist. I could just make out his pock-marked face, his curly ginger hair, his well-muscled arms, in the twilight seeping out of the frosted public bar window. He was dressed in a black t-shirt, black cords, black trainers. The fairy lights came on in the petrified leafless trees surrounding the pub's pathetic garden patio. I could clearly see his features, the rippling chest muscle under his t-shirt, the bulge in his pants. It's a strange character.
No.
What do you like to do? He winked at me. Was it blepharospasm? Involuntary twitching of the eyelids? I was taken aback by his peculiar question, the off-putting spasms distorting his facial muscles. My face strained in anguish mixed with intrigue. I'm sorry? His eyes twitched, first his left, then his right. My assessment was correct. Blepharospasm.
Wow.
That's all then
I
we've
love.
got this character who's quite
Yeah.
a tough, yobbish character, but
Uh,
he's weakened by this twitching
mm.
experience. I don't know.
And it works really well because you've got it from another character. Because quite often something I'll pick up in editing is where you've got a character looking in the mirror and they're describing themselves. I mean, fair enough if they've gone through a tough time and they're thinner than they should be or something. But even so, it's a bit of a cliche to have a character
Yeah.
describing themselves. So it's good, and I love the pock-marked face.
Yeah.
Having it described from another character.
Well, in Hearts and Minds, there's a lot of real names, a lot of real people,
Mm.
but this particular person, I really did meet him,
Right.
and his sort of he didn't have the twitch,
Yeah.
but he had the pockmarked face, and he was a very unusual character. He I don't want to meet him again. I actually think we moved county to avoid me meeting this man again. Because he had a strange life. He was a fireman.
Mm.
He saved people's lives, but they couldn't have children. He and his lovely wife.
Mm.
So he went down to this pub and surfed the disco dancers, and he would go off and try and have affairs based on this. And he was a bad influence
Yeah.
type of person, and the pockmarked face really, yeah, he was that sort of
Right.
character.
Right. Sarah, do you ever include? I mean, I think most authors, they're asked the question, do you create characters based on people you know, will often say, well, some of my characters have a bit of them and a bit of somebody else, and so you sort of garner um, aspects from different people you know. Has anybody read your work and said, oh, that's me? Or have you ever consciously?
Never. I've never written anything. I've never written a character or had a character have any traits that are not my own
Okay.
or imagined. So I've never included
Yeah.
anything like that.
No.
Often celebrities or bits of celebrities, I should say. It might be a celebrity's eyes, or because I write a lot of American narrative, a lot of American characters. Some of mine, I watch certain films so I can kind of see how a character walks. Or there was one character in Dream State. We do this every time. I can never do it that one. Dream State.
Well, last night when I was doing my editing talk, I was in reverse, so I often get the wrong side. So I was completely thrown out because
He throws
everything.
me all the time.
Yeah.
But Dream State, that one.
Right.
There's an artist in that, and his name is Ben. And Ben has long curly hair. He's early 30s, long curly hair. And I needed to see how it moved. So there was a particular actor who had long curly hair. So my husband would say obsessing, I would say researching.
Researching, absolutely.
Yeah. So I was researching all of the shows that this guy was on, and how his hair moved when he walks. Like sometimes you can have curls that, like long spiral curls, that when the person walks, each curl moves separately, like moves independently. And other times when it's like a mass and nothing moves. Well, I needed this to be part, like, on when you see Monsters Inc. and you see the big blue monster.
Sully's
it's moving.
hair.
I needed it to be like that, but not in such a ridiculously AI kind of way.
Yeah.
But I needed to watch loads of films to see, because his hair is different lengths in different movies.
Right.
And I needed to watch, like, really see. And it's the same with.
We'll all be trying to work out who that is now.
I can tell you if you like. It was Robert Sheehan. He's been in loads of things, but he's one of those people that is an incredible actor, but loads of people just don't know him. Anyway, one of the things he was in was Umbrella Academy, if that helps.
Okay.
He played Klaus. But another thing I find is accents as well. How an accent is delivered, how certain words are delivered. Because you can have an accent, loads of people can have the same accent, but different words will be delivered a different way. And I find that really helps make a character. The way they deliver their words or their word choice really helps deliver the character.
Sure. And
I'm not even sure if I answered your question, to be honest.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Do you have any? Is this a bit like whenever the question's asked again? People say, "I can't." It's like saying, "Who's my favourite child?" Quite often, a favourite character will be one I'm working on at the moment. Do you have somebody in a former book? I'm throwing this question at you cold now. Do you have a character you've used previously that you'd like to bring back, Sarah? And then we'll move.
Oh, crumbs. Yeah, because every time I write a novel and I feel, when I'm writing it, I feel like I'm writing it at that moment, and then when I finished it, I think there's potential here for a sequel. But in Dream State, there is potential for a sequel. So I would bring back, there's a guy in it called Drew. And well, actually several characters. Ben I'd bring back, and the other characters too, probably to put them in a different setting. Have the same characters, different setting, and it is set up for that. And the one I'm currently writing, again, I've actually got the bare bones of the sequel ready for that as well. Right. So I think bringing them back in a sequel way, but not necessarily. There's that one. It's called Living and Loving in Texas, and the guy in that is called Garrett. And there is potential for another story, not necessarily a sequel, but another story where he is brought in as the cousin of someone else, so that he would be probably brought in. So yeah, I mean, I think there's sometimes when you get so involved in a character, and I don't know about you, I wake up and I go, oh, I wonder what Drew's doing, or I wonder, I get so involved thinking they're a real character, or at the moment what Oliver's doing, or August. And when get through my day and before I go to bed, I thought, I wonder if they got such and such done. Or you might write them in like I've done this before. I'd written 2 characters in a list. This was about 25 years ago. I'd written them in a list. I got sidetracked. And it was about 3 months later, I went back and thought, oh my God, they're still in this list.
How
I had to go
funny.
back and write them out of the list.
Yeah. Because I have in which one is it? After Jessica, I have a chap who's a sort of a right-hand man, and he's not inherently evil, but he'll do whatever's asked of him. And I had he's only in a couple of scenes, and I had such fun with him that he's always been at the back of my mind to perhaps bring him back. I have been asked what happens next, and it's Andy's story, really, and he does have a happy ever after. But I'd like to bring more about Daniel, who's he's a businessman, and Rick is his right hand man, and I'd like to have a story with them, see more detail with them, which should be fun.
Another a character, if I may, and I didn't mean this to be funny, but it worked out funny, and it kind of brought in a few one-liners that even the characters didn't realise until they were saying it. The current story is based on the periphery of Hollywood, and there's producers and directors, and there's this particular guy who's referred to as a silver fox. He's really not, but he thinks he is. And I've called him Hector, and then later when I'm referring to him, I'm like, Hector the director.
Oh, brilliant!
But then they refer to him as, oh, how's Hector the director? And it kind of, and I've even written in the in her thoughts, he really ought to play on that. He really you should use that for marketing purposes.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. I've got one of my works in progress has a Hector, and he's a hotel manager. And I've based him on I don't know if you remember the scene from Pretty Woman, where she's gone out to buy a dress and she's failed.
Oh, yeah.
And she goes back and the hotel manager's there. And I think his real name I can't remember his name then, but I think his real name's Hector, or character name Hector, I'm not sure.
It's name like Alionza or something, isn't it?
Yes. And so my hotel manager is based on him. So I love the name. Oh no, it's not. It's Horace, not Hector. Horace. I think. Or it might be, I can't remember. It's been a little while since I went back to it. So Daniel, do you have characters that you bring back or that repeat in? Because you do write.
I think it's interesting because I wrote. I go and work out a lot. You've got to work out sometimes. And our local gym, there were some interesting characters on various pieces of equipment, and they eventually evolved, and they turned into a paranormal story, and out popped Julia, Alice, Wilding, Rogers, the characters who then went back in time to 1644 and reappeared in Heathen. So unnatural occurrence. I never published it, but I've managed to squeeze it in because I go to the gym. I've squeezed it into Hearts and Minds, but the story's in there. So it's squeezed in, and it evolves. It's an interesting one because there's poetry. Julia's quite poetic and keeps bringing out these little one-liners, but that developed into sequel. The sequel became the main event, which was Heathen. So I really wanted to bring Julia back from the dead. So, but I didn't work that way. I had her alive and then went back several hundred years to her execution, which is very sad, really.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've been told. I've written Beings, which has been pretty well received, and it's a sort of partly erotic sci-fi about these women that attack men and they had to survive and all this type of thing. And but people keep saying, when are you going to do Beings too? Because I've got characters like Isabel, a Portuguese, she's a Portuguese light dancer in a nightclub. And then Neve, a fairly aristocratic Brit who lives in a stately home in Kent, who finds herself in Portugal. They're these characters. But the problem is that the ending of Beings, which I mentioned to Morgan, it's one of the few endings I've worked with anyone on because I had to get something that was so different. It's so unusual that it's very hard to write anything after it. It's very
Yeah.
hard to follow the book up. I'm sure it would go well if I did, but there we are. But from time to time, I find characters that there are others I'd love to bring back, but I'll mention them in a minute.
We see, I write standalones and series, and they both have their benefits because the thing about standalones is you've got a whole new cast of characters,
You have.
and so you can have fun with new characters, new settings, new ideas. But then I love with the Henry, the dog detective series. The first one is a 76,000 word normal size novel, and then the adventures thereafter. I'm on my sixth, I think, at the moment, and they're sort of between 15 and 20,000, so they're novelettes, and it's fun because that with those I've still got the main cast of characters, but I'm bringing in new people at the same time. So I think it's a bit of both. But I think having a series, the good thing about being self-published is that if you do develop a series, you can always go back in if you to earlier ones, if you need to make changes, especially if not too many people have read it, and then won't notice. But yeah,
Can I ask you a
I
quick,
love.
a sort of non-character question? You
Yeah,
mentioned that you're obviously prolific, Morgan. You're a prolific writer, and you mentioned that you have some very short novella, so a 20,000 word. And you publish that as a 20,000 word Kindle and book, do you?
Well, those are so. The first one was O. Henry, which is on the shelf behind me. And then we got Henry at the beach, Henry at a barbecue, Henry and the lawyer, Henry goes trick or treating, and then the next one, and they've all got subtitles. The case of something, and then the next one, which I got back from Graham, my editor, in November 2023, and it's been sitting on my hard drive, and that's Henry Goes to the Cinema, the case of the rogue llama, and so that's kind of the humour I pitch it at, and those are. They are, as I said, between 15 and 20,000. So at the moment, they're Kindle only. But one of my fairly high up my jobs list is to then produce an omnibus of those five.
Yes, because
So
of
then that
you
will be
need to
about
produce,
paperback. So
say, for the spine of a book, you have to have a certain word
exactly.
count, don't you?
Yeah, they've got to
Absolutely.
be 133 pages
Correct.
from previous experience before they're big enough to have a spine. But yes, that's my plan, is to have those collectively as
Very
a
good.
paperback, because also it's more cost effective to have a bigger book,
It is.
because you have a base cost and then there's nominal per page thereafter.
Thanks for answering that.
Yeah, that's okay. So turning to works that other people have written, Daniel, watching film and TV, is there a character that sticks in your mind?
Well, I have got four or five.
Okay,
The way I've looked at it, I just went to my bookshelf,
okay,
and and here they are really. Um, Top of the six, if you like, is a very sleazy um, double agent called Calder, in the book The Endless Game by Brian Forbes, the great actor, director, and writer,
okay. I know the name.
in 1986.
Right.
The second one, I'm just going to read what I've written because it sort of
Yeah.
tells you about the character.
Okay.
Um, Amber Reynolds. My name is Amber Reynolds. There are th three things you should know about me. One, I'm in a coma. Two, my husband doesn't love me anymore. And three, sometimes I lie. And what a
Oh,
book!
that
And
rings a bell.
it's by Alice Feeney.
Okay.
Um, uh, the third one is special thanks to Emma, my Irish daughter-in-law, mother to my two grandchildren.
Okay.
Just for introducing me to Frances, 21, the other woman. You probably all know Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney.
Right.
Um, oh, my all-time favorite woman, Joan, all woman in Animal by Lisa Tadeo, 2021. Oh, she's won all sorts of awards and things. Um, a Norwegian woman, Ida, 30 years old, relatively young, married woman, two children, meets her lecturer, Arnold, also married,
Mm.
and their passionate affair descends into an addiction. If only, and this is a Booker Prize nominee author. Her name is Vigdis Horth, Hjorth, and the book was translated from Norwegian in 2024.
Okay.
And then I've got a chap from the Brentwood Writers Circle's written a story called Carla's Story. And I was just stunned, you don't hear about a lot of novelists and writers. I
Right.
thought I'd buy his book because we all buy each other's books.
Yeah, no,
And
absolutely.
Carla just gets herself into these she gets trapped by someone under the auspices of love, and she gets contained and trapped and has to be released. And
Oh,
the whole story is just unputdownable. It's
right.
fantastic. It's great to hear new names. But
Yeah, no, absolutely. Alice Feeney does ring, and obviously Sally Rooney. Yeah, I think Alice Feeney and I have chatted about her being involved with Self Pub Fest, which
oh,
would be
fantastic.
wonderful. You obviously, it's interesting that so many women on your list, because most of your characters are women,
They
aren't
are.
they?
Well,
Um,
no, that's not true.
or your main characters in your
I
book,
think the way I write is that the men tend to be, there's normally something, a weakness in them. They tend to be the vulnerable or depraved men.
right?
The women, they reflect how I see women today. I think I know women are not equal enough, but there are two of you and only one of me.
Right.
And
Yeah, be careful.
I think that women are in a far stronger position than they were, and
Oh,
their
absolutely.
influence is growing all the time.
Yeah.
So I see women as strong, and I see men as becoming maybe they're in the position women used to be in historically for decades and centuries and thousands of years. So my women tend to be stronger than the
And
men.
do you find it easy? I'll ask Sarah the opposite question. Do you find it easy to write female characters to get inside their head
Me,
because you're surrounded by women
do I?
and above? Yes,
Oh, no, it's very easy.
very easy.
It's
What
very,
about
I mean,
you?
I think I mentioned before, I write under various pseudonyms, and
Mm,
some people think that H.J. Furl is Harriet Jackie Furl,
mm,
and who's had the most amazing confrontations on social media, I can tell you.
right.
I know, I mean, I'm appalled at the way men behave on social
Yeah.
media. It's
Yeah.
appalling. But if I write as Harriet Jackie Furl, the writing's more feminine.
Right.
I don't know, I just find it easy to write like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but no, I do have men who are stronger initially, but when you go down, I'm sure you get this, Sarah, when you go down into their character, all their weaknesses percolate to the surface of them.
Mm,
Mm.
mm.
Because we all have
Yeah.
strengths and weaknesses, don't we? It's just that men have been brought up as boys not to show, and I think it's society now. I think it's lovely that and back in the, I'm not that old, but even probably sort of 20, 30 years ago, it was lovely seeing a man in a pink shirt, and it was almost a rarity. And now we can wear whatever we like, which is fantastic. So I think we have changed quite a lot in recent years. So, Sarah, how do you find writing men?
Um, I find writing men relatively easy. I've just realised with what I'm about to say is that I fibbed earlier. I said to you I don't include anyone I know, but in my heroes, there's a lot of my husband in
Right.
Right,
them.
nice,
There's a lot of his traits in them.
nice.
But I find writing men relatively easy because I can get inside my husband's brain and
Mm,
I can get inside my dad's brain. And the bosses that I've worked for who have been male. I can get inside their brain and seen how they maybe worked with a particular situation, and then I can use that for the character. Some characters that I've really loved in literature, and it turns out, weirdly enough, the people that I've chosen, that all these films have been adapted by books.
Okay.
The other way around.
Other way around.
Yeah. So one of my favourite books is Stephen King's It, and I really loved the character of Bill Denborough. He was one of the children, and Richie Tozier. Now, both of those were in the original TV series that I saw of It back in 1991, I think, or about 1991, I think. They were so colourful, and they really brought something to the characters, and it was through that I read the book. So I read it that way around.
Yeah.
And I really kind of fell in love with both those characters. I was amazed that children could behave that way and act that way for a story, and it was so powerful, because I was always under the impression if something was powerful like that, you had to be an adult for it to happen. But they were doing this, and they were probably about 11 or 12 when they did this. That's incredible. So those two characters particularly I loved. Obviously Pennywise, another thing. But also in Thomas Hardy's Far From a Madding Crowd, I really loved Gabriel Oak. He brought such a sense of strength to the character, and didn't hurt that he was yummy. But he brought such a... Oh, this is my hormone speaking, sorry. But,
Go ahead, I mean,
Why did a picture of Colin Firth in a white shirt?
I absolutely... Yes. You know how a lot of women really love firemen? I completely missed that memo. I like police officers. Yeah. Gabriel Oak, for me, is... I didn't jump on the Colin Firth bandwagon at all. I'd look at him and go, big deal, let's look at someone else. Right. So you're all welcome to play with him.
Okay.
Gabriel Oak was played by Nathaniel Parker, and he was amazing in that character.
Yeah.
And going on the other side of things, female character, Anne of Green Gables, Anne Shirley, she was so fun. She was so fiery and so, friendly but prickly as well. She had everything in her, and she was played by Megan Follows, the character that I saw her in. My mum saw the version with Kim Novak. I never saw that one, but Anne Shirley was just so full of colour, and she was so excited by language and so excited by words, and I thought, oh my god, we're the same thing. I don't even know if that answers any of your questions. I've gone off on a million tangents, but yeah.
I did the quiz in Swanwick, which was sadly a couple of days before you were there, and Anne of Green Gables was one of the answers, because I did a round on months, and I can't remember the exact wording, but it was something like, it was a quote from the book, was something like, "I'm so glad that we live in a world where there are Octobers."
Right. I thought you were going to say there aren't any mistakes yet.
Oh yeah, no.
That was
Yes, where there are Octobers.
Lucy Maud Montgomery wrote that, and I didn't discover that until about the same time as I was reading Stephen King's It, actually. It was about 1991.
Wow.
So when my daughter was just after infant, just before juniors, he was expected to pick up a book each day and bring it home. We'd read it together. And the book she picked up was Anne of Green Gables. I couldn't have been more excited.
Great.
So we watched the films together as well, and it was just really good fun. So, it had that particular book had a special place in my heart, yeah.
Yes.
Can I ask you a question, SJ? Can I ask you a question? Do you tend to write classical romance or modern day romance? Modern.
And it's generally got a subgenre of something that isn't romantic as well. So it could be crime, it could be suspense, it could be paranormal or something, or
great.
supernatural.
That's great.
Yeah, it's generally romance, and I've only discovered that over the last decade or so, that I really enjoy writing relationships, watching them blossom. So when you said earlier on about characters, my books are generally character-led, not plot-led. So appearance is really important for the plot generally, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I
character
think,
to me is all, you know.
yeah. Well, whenever I've done most courses, but certainly planning and writing a novel, and when we're talking about characters, I'll say to the group, there'll be sort of 16 to 18 people each time, and I say, out of character, setting, plot, which to you is the most important? And very rarely would anybody say something other than character, because if you don't get on with the character, and they don't all
Mm.
have to be likable as
No,
main
no.
characters, but if you don't care what happens to the character, then you can have a beautiful setting, you can have an interesting plot. The reader will stop.
And
I,
when I
yeah.
retired from a totally different background, totally different. I was a operations and a regional MD director, operations director in contract catering. You can't get anything less romantic than that, Sarah, you know? And I got to the age of 61, which is about 10 years ago. And I told my boss I was going because I wanted to write a novel or learn to write. He said, "Well, when you've got that stupid idea out of your head, come back and work 3 days a week." So, of course, that's in my book. You know, put that in.
Okay.
Didn't name him, but what happened? I tried to write something and it just didn't work because I'd never written before. So, you know, I'm talking about move from contract catering, yawn, to, you know, right through to erotic fiction and everything. I'd never even written. So I actually, someone suggested that I went on the excellent Open University Start Writing Fiction course, which is still running. And the whole of it was about how to write character. There's Derek, they've got a video of this chap, Derek. He's still, I'm sure that video is still showing. The course is free. And I learned to write through character. And he said, he came up with these words, character is all. You can have a plot, you can have a setting, but without living, breathing, talking, acting, behaving characters, um, it's very little. The exception to that, I find, is poetry. Poetry can bring settings to life in its own special way. But I think if you write too long without the character doing anything, it peters out pretty quickly.
No, absolutely. Well, thank you very much, both of
Well,
you.
I've got a bit more.
Oh, do.
I've
Yes,
got
go
a
on
bit
then.
more. No, I mean, we
Yeah,
were
yeah.
talking about because Sarah, you've talked. I love films as well, and but also music. We just touching on voices. In Heathen, it's very important that the men talk in the right way. Um, and I like Kate Bush, and you know, the on one side of the Hounds of Love, there's some of her very more serious music, including a track called "Waking the Witch." And there are these voices, and they say, "Wake up, child! Wake up, child!" And they're the puritanical voices that evolved into the Puritans in Heathen. And I'm not going to read it all, but there's a couple of examples here of the way they spoke. This is Rogers talking. Be quiet, child, or I'll cut out your tongue. Or take you to a warm inn, eh? They spoke in this sort of unusual way.
Mm,
Best be going, eh, girl? That was Wilding speaking. And
mm.
all that came out of this track on The Hounds of Love by Kate Bush. It's
Wow.
just like
Because
whoosh out that came
that's
and
another thing. I mean, Daniel, you're writing back in the past, so how your characters speak, you'd have to get right. You'd have to research as to
has
how
to be
how they,
authentic. I'm
yeah,
absolutely when you write like that. But
yeah.
I've got an Australian, I met, you say anyone based on someone you know. I met her at a boozy, drug-fueled party in Reigate. Um, and she's quite a character. Her name's Georgie. Um, she was standing by the bar pouring herself a glass of the real thing. I won't read all that, but she was Australian. He stopped eating, didn't know what to say. He gave her his bottle. She unscrewed the top, poured herself a large shot, mixed it with Coke, drank a swig. Ah, thanks. Needed that. Gets boring when you don't know anyone, doesn't it? He didn't answer. She topped up her glass, found a clean glass, half filled it with Malibu, and offered it to him. Fancy a drink? She was tipsy. He started to sweat. His hands shook. She made him apprehensive. His mouth was parched. Desperate for a drink, he took the glass from her, downing in one. He struck her as the silent type, vulnerable to her charms, pleasantly shy. She wanted him badly, wanted to push her hand through his wavy hair, stroke his face, kiss his split lips, feel his slim-toned body. He excited her. She needed to touch him. Feeling lonely? The drink went to his head. Yes, very. That's me in West Sussex. Yeah,
Oh,
this is me here in the story. My name's Georgie, she disclosed. Shall we go outside and play in the garden? And that strange taste is, I've got a great review. It's about that long on Amazon about this story.
mm,
It's a very, very popular story. But yeah, Georgie, there was a Georgie, and Daddy had a 1,000 sheep in
right,
outside Adelaide somewhere. But I don't want to go into any more detail because I might get hung, drawn, and quartered tonight. So there we are.
right.
Used to consider doing audiobooks.
No, I do get my another test to whether the characters of speaking and behaving and well, they've hung together. I'm fortunate enough to because I've had a website which I'm now recreating and whatever, but I'm fortunate enough to be able to have two audiobooks. So Strange Taste and Heathen are in the Basque audiobook. And Annabelle and I went along to East 15 Acting School in Debden in Essex near Loughton. And oh, there was this amazing young actor, and discovered her on Fiverr.com. And I can't say her name because we've agreed that her name, because of what she recalls, RP, known also as Isla Furl. She just brings the characters to life. And when the story is right, it sounds right. They come alive.
Mm,
And it's very exciting. And I would strongly recommend um, anyone, even if it's just like a chapter or a section to promote your novel, to get someone really good to record it.
mm.
You might want you won't want Colin Firth, Sarah, but you might want a male hunky male actor to
Never
yeah,
had you.
Several actors that I would go to actually.
they're really
Um,
good. But they charge
voices, yeah,
so much a word, and I mean it's a manageable if it's not too much
Mm,
narrative, but it's something that I get great pleasure from having them brought to life. And if
yeah,
my characters, if that story is no good, you can tell
yeah.
because
yeah.
they can't bring it to life in the way that
Mm.
I intended to write it. So yeah, it's a great time. Bringing characters to life is the best thing in the world, easily.
And
Yeah, I agree.
does she do accents? Do you have
She,
accents in?
what I love, I nearly said her name. What I love about Isla is that I don't know, I know very few. Do you know many male actors that can impersonate a woman's voice without sounding ridiculous?
No, not really.
But she can create accents. She can create different. I mean, I could put you in touch, but I'd have to then reveal her name and
Oh no,
everything.
that's okay.
But she can
Okay.
create different accents, different intonations.
Mm,
She can do Leeds, she can do Settle, Carlisle,
right.
Scotland, Wales. She's
Wow.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
So
And there's
and
ages as
she
well,
recorded Heathen.
because
Sorry?
obviously our voices change.
Yeah,
So
she's great. If you
ages.
if you want to hear her,
Yeah.
you can hear a bit of Heathen if you go onto Amazon or
Okay.
Audible, because this is what frustrates me. Of course, you can hear it for nothing. But
Mm,
you can want to hear a bit of Heathen, that's her
yeah.
voice. And there's men there, old-fashioned, men from 1644, who they're the ones that should have been hung.
Mm,
And they are she does a great job on that story. And it's so I'll tell you what really upsets me. I've had over 1 million listens to my audios. Over 1 million to different stories. There's quite a few recorded. I've sold three copies of an audiobook. And
yeah, a lot of people, because I my longer works are in Kindle's KDP Select, so
yes,
they go free for 5 days every
free,
90
yeah.
days. And I get quite a few I don't really check, but I get quite a few downloads. And I don't mind. I write to be read. I think
Yeah.
most writers, if they're realistic, write to be read
Yeah.
rather than make lots of money. That would be
I
nice
certainly
as
don't. I
well.
certainly don't. I write to lose money.
Well, yes. Certainly,
Lots.
We write
if
for
you
the love of it, don't we?
You do.
exactly,
I agree
That's
with
exactly,
why I
what you're
call my
both
business For
saying.
the Love of Book.
yes.
You do, and I think you do want to be read, and therefore, this is the big one.
Mm.
If I presume then that you put your work out on Kindle, because you want to be read, but you don't just want to be read. You want to get someone talking about your writing.
Yes. No,
You want
exactly.
to
I'm
be
listening.
appreciated for the effort you put in.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm listening to I've just gone over to podcasts because even they forget the name of their podcast. It's called It's just scrolling around. Book Marketing Tips and Author Success podcast, and it's two American ladies, and they're brilliant. It's been over 100 and something episodes
Oh,
over the last few years. I think I'm still on 2023 at the moment.
write that down.
Um, and they're two book marketeers, and they're each it's an episode a week, I think, and each one is a different episode. So it's book marketing tips and author success, and they were saying in one of the recent ones I've been listening to that what were we just talking about? My brain's gone. That what
Audiobooks, books,
what was
Kindles,
um oh, my brain is gone.
wanting to be read and listened to, or
Um, no, it's gone. I'll have to add it in. I'll have to add it in text. But they're very open about people losing money and the costs, and about newsletters, and putting your books up for free, and so it's very an honest way of how to market your books, and saying really that social media is a waste of not a waste of time, but they say don't go everywhere, just be where you need to be, where your audience is.
I agree
And
with
I
that,
know
yeah.
I've spent hours on social media before, posting about different things,
Hmm.
and it's great for networking, but not just because it's all about being an author, which is why I've set up Self Pub Fest really,
I
and
will
do the
say, I mean,
author
do you
spotlight.
have a niche? Do you have anyone that helps you market your books? You strike me as being, it looks like you've got all those books there, Sarah. You strike me as being a well-known, successful romance author, or is that not the case?
I write fiction and non-fiction. The ones you can see on this shelf are just a few of the books that I've written. I've been doing this for over 40 years now.
Oh, I
But
see.
I wouldn't say, I mean, it depends how you measure success, to be honest. I mean, I get out of bed each day. That's pretty successful, isn't it?
I think if I just explain what I was trying to get to is that if you've been writing for 40 years, you therefore must have seen this massive change. I mean, 40 years ago, the type of, you had these big, I think there was books, there was a lot more paper books around, and more emphasis on, there was no social media. There were no Kindles, there were no mobile phones. And I just wish that I'd written some of my books at the time when, I forget what they're called now, the famous erotic films that were made, with Dakota, what's her name in,
Oh,
um,
50
Fifty
Shades of
Shades.
Grey.
50
Oh,
Shades.
Yeah,
They've
done
sold
that.
millions.
E.L. James.
Yeah,
E.L. James.
Yellow James, millions of books.
Yeah.
I doubt that she could have sold so many millions of books today.
Possibly not. I think a lot of that was down to what was needed at the time, right? Because there was so much talked about how poor the grammar was and how poor,
Mm.
this was and that was. I don't know. Does that even matter sometimes? I think it does, but
I think it
there's,
does.
I wonder sometimes because you've got all this, are you traditionally published? Are you self-published? Are you
Mm,
hybrid published?
mm.
All this kind of stuff. That really only matters to other authors. That's kind of a bit of a snobby thing. I've been all three, but when it comes to the reader, the person who you want to buy the book, they don't really care how
They
they
don't.
get the book.
They don't.
All they care is if they like what it says on the blurb, whether they like the picture on the front, and how much it costs.
I
That's
agree.
literally all they care about. I've asked
Yeah.
so many readers over the years. That's all they care about. It's the rest of us
Yeah.
that care about the rest.
Very
You know,
interesting. So, I mean, do you find you have a good following on Amazon, for example?
Um, I'm not what you think I am. Let's put it that way. I Part of my business, which is called For the Love of Books, I coach writers.
I
I
see.
edit, I proofread, I ghostwrite, I do a podcast, I do newsletters, all the rest of it. But I didn't publish until 2006. That was the first time I ever published. And my business is actually now 15 years old. So I've done a lot of things over the years, and I've seen a lot of changes over the years too. But I'm less interested in the sales part of things,
I
and
agree.
I'm not coming from a I'm incredibly rich, I don't need to standpoint,
Yeah.
but I'm less interested in the publishing and selling part of it. I'm way, way more interested in the writer development and creating stories part of it.
That's great. I mean,
So
I find
chances are I'm never going to be rich, but I'm not in it to be rich. I'm in it for
no,
the
I
fulfillment.
really think that's great, Sarah, because I actually of all the parts, I've got a list of things to do that long because I try quite to be quite active with marketing, with developing a website again now, all these different aspects, recordings, something's happening over there. But the thing I love most is sitting down and writing,
I love being
and
inside those
also
worlds.
networking with people and
Yeah. I'm glad you said that, Daniel. If you want to connect with me, there's a few things, because we're both in Essex, there's a few things that I do that you might be interested in from a networking and community group point of
well,
view.
as you can imagine, my real name isn't Daniel Furl or HJ Furl. My real name's Dennis, but my sons would never allow me in a million years to start writing what I write.
well, when this goes
Morgan
up
can
on,
put me,
yeah, when
yeah.
this goes up on YouTube, I'll openly copy both of you.
Fantastic.
Then you
Because
can,
yeah, it would be great to catch up. Where do you live?
You were talking about witches earlier. I live near St. Osoph.
Oh, I'll say you're out near Colchester. I call that
Yeah,
near
near
Colchester.
Colchester. Yeah.
It's funny. We were out at where were we? Went out to Tollsbury Wick,
Okay.
uh, and which is up on the coastal Blackwater type of
Yeah.
area. And
Near
my
Morgen.
one of my stories, it's been on Talking Stories. I've got stories I've been on the radio and things. But I had a
Mhm.
lady called Lizzie, a single mother from Newcastle, who recorded The Hide. And it's based on a real bird hide out in the middle of nowhere. And this massive, Annabelle and I do these rambles. We did one today, exhausted. But the hide, we went back to where the hide was based, and we did this walk in the sun last week in the baking hot sun. And unbelievably, the hide, which was derelict, has been rebuilt. And so the story won't be brought up to date, but I met the people from the Essex Bird Trust and the Wildlife Trust, and they told me the original hive was vandalised and smashed up by vandals, which is terrible. But they'd all rebuilt the hide. So and that's one of my most popular audio stories. And it's all based on us getting lost. We get lost in Essex, and we couldn't. The sign, it didn't say Tollsbury Wick; it had ivy over it. It said "ick,"
Uh,
so
oh,
we missed it. Yeah, I'd love to
brilliant.
catch up with you. Love to.
Yeah, brilliant. No, I think everything we experience goes. I have a terrible memory, but even so, I do tend to jot everything down. But I think I call it fiction fodder. Anything we experience in life can then become fiction fodder. We should do another one on characters,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
certainly on,
It's a great subject, isn't
it
it?
is, isn't it? Yeah, we
And
could go
I'm a
into
bit of a naughty
a
boy,
lot more
really. I should
detail.
be a naughty boy because I've introduced two new ideas for the Brentwood Write. I'm the treasurer of the Brentwood Writers Circle, Sarah.
Mhm.
So you should be in the Brentwood Write or talking. You could be a
I've,
guest
I've,
speaker.
I've spoken twice there.
Have you? You've
Yes.
spoken in the
Yes.
in that
Yes.
smoky, what used to be a smoky little social club, the Bardswell.
Um,
You've spoken.
I've spoken twice at the Brentwood Writers group, and
Wow.
it's the one that you're talking about used to be run by a lady called Ivy, I believe.
Yeah, she died several years ago. Ivy Lord.
Yeah,
She was the
Ivy
president.
Lord. Yes,
She used to
yeah,
write erotic fiction.
yes, yes, yeah. I know several members of your group. Yes.
Oh, amazing. Well, I'm the treasurer, and we'd
Oh,
love
well.
to. You could come along as a guest one Saturday afternoon. We're terribly boring. We're not like that very innovative creator, on the other side of the screen over there, who is just so good for getting authors to get together and talk. But this has been by far my most enjoyable session, and we must catch up. Lots in common. So there we are.
Absolutely. Welcome anytime. They do run regularly on different topics. And if there's something, I've probably said this before, but if you see something on the calendar, or certainly on the Mondays and Tuesday and Thursday T&T panel pages that nobody's booked in on, I can easily change the topic, do something else. You can bring one forward if there's something you'd rather do another time. It's all
I must say,
very,
I
very
much
fluid.
I do enjoy the fact there's three of us, because
Yes,
Morgan and
nice.
I have done them, and Morgan's installed at this panel that sits at the bottom of the YouTube, and it just says how many times I say the word you know.
Oh, yes, that's automated. Yes, that's automated, and it doesn't know this how to spell Aylesbury. So
No.
this will come up as something completely different, Aylesbury or something. Anyway, so yeah,
Fantastic. No,
yeah.
I must say you do inspire me, Sarah, because I when I worked as a director in catering, everything was target driven. And very stressful. All in my new non-fiction book, very stressful. And I've never really shaken that off. So I confess I do have a spreadsheet that says how many of each Kindle or whatever I've sold, and I need to get out of that, but I need people like you to get me out of that.
Well, I'm here.
I think that can work one way or the other. It can be an inspiration to sell more, or the fact. I think once I remember selling my first book, which was a different version of where are they, the first workbook, and it was at I just hosted a workshop for a writing group over in Lowestoft in Norfolk. And I don't know, I think it's Suffolk. And this young lady bought my first, anyway, I've got an old copy somewhere. And she bought this book, and I say this in my WI talk, and she brought it up to me and she said, as if, putting me on a pedestal, would you sign your book? And I went, yes, I would. And I still say that. It's still a thrill that somebody has downloaded, and certainly if they pay for it, has downloaded one of my books. It's still a thrill.
It is.
And you hope, see, I would rather sell a book for nothing or 99p, knowing that somebody would read it, than sell it for £2.99 and have it or £9.99 or £7.99 for a paperback, and just have it sit on a shelf. Because you never know. And word of mouth, we're talking about 50 Shades of Grey and how popular that became. And more, I think that might have been the thing I was trying to think of that the podcast said, was that, I think it was actually, that something like quite a high percentage, 75% or more of books are sold because of word of mouth. So if one, and I know when I've been to Oundle Literary Festival at Northampton, we were given goodie bags, and a lady I met actually there, who it turned out lived 3 streets away from me when I lived in Northampton, she, in her goodie bag, was one of the Joe Nesbo books.
Wow.
She gave it to her son. Her son read it, loved it, then went to Waterstones and bought all the other versions, all the other books that and ordered the rest. And that was just because he'd been given a free book. And as they've said in this podcast, and I've heard umpteen times before, nothing sells your last book like your next one.
True.
So we do all need to be sitting and writing, and I'm the world's worst by saying you should write 300 words a day, and I haven't written anything for at least a couple of weeks. mainly because I've been sorting out my computers, but thanks to
Be a
Microsoft.
good topic. Be a good topic for a future. One of these is how many words a day have you written, or how many?
Yes,
What's the most amount you've written a day? Something
yes.
like that.
What is, do you catalogue yours, Sarah?
Yeah,
What's the most
yeah.
you've
Well,
written?
in my current one, which I'm editing, I was absolutely hyper focused, and I was on a deadline too. And I say this truthfully, genuinely, the most I've written in one day is 8,000 words.
Yeah.
And that's, for me, that's wow. That's incredible. I can easily do 2,000, but 8,000 in one day.
Wow.
It's brilliant. Brilliant. Well, my favourite statistic is 300 words a day is 109,500 words a year, which is astounding. And when I set a task, say 15-minute task, I'll ask if anybody's written 300 words. Obviously, if they've got a computer, they can see. Or I just say how many words on an average line by how many lines you've got. And I say, has anybody written 300 words? And at least one person will. I say, if you do that every day, you'll have more than you need for a novel. I mean, that's easy to say because obviously novels are consistent. If you write 300-word standalone pieces, that's easy to do.
That does help me a lot because Sarah doesn't know this, but I started. My first book was published in 2019, so I've not been writing that long. But oh, lo and behold, I think just after COVID, I lost the sight in my right eye. And up till then, I was writing some really good horror stories, actually, about on average, there were 4,500 to 5,000 words. And I just write the whole story in a day.
Wow.
Anyway, I got the sight back, new lens and all that, but I do have this blurred vision. So as a result, the 300 words a day is great. And sometimes I'll stretch that to 1,000, but then it just starts going, and
Yes.
it gets quite frustrating that I used to be able to, because there's nothing better than leaping out of bed, rushing downstairs, grabbing a coffee, and
Yeah.
putting out 3 or 4,000 words. It's the best thing in the world.
Yes.
Often it's fuel injected, and it's often so full of emotion. You don't need to do much with it afterwards.
No. Well, I dictate. I have an iPhone, and that has a notes app in it, and I quite often dictate. I do have to keep an eye on what it's actually creating, because invariably it'll come out with a random word, and then I'll read it back and not have a clue what it means.
Yeah.
But I find that it's a lot quicker. Although I type really quickly, my serial data up there, I did 115,640 words in 28 days, whatever that works out to be.
That's what I'm reading at the moment. That you signed for me at Sonic. Yeah.
Oh, bless you. Thank you.
And you've said right at the Cuba. It's so funny.
Thank you. I call it my Marmite novel because when it was traditionally published, and I don't really read reviews, but the first, there may have been more, 1-star review for it when it went out on NetGalley said, I don't normally leave reviews for books, but this one was so bad I felt I had to. And I read that at 11 o'clock at night and laughed, didn't lose a wink of sleep. And the same book, this is 2018, the same book ended up being a blogger's favourite book of the year.
Wow.
You know how many books bloggers read. So it's my Marmite. You like it or you don't.
Oh, amazing.
Really
amazing.
Thank you. But I'm going to redo those because, well, I'm going to re-edit everything because it's been a while, and then revert back to Morgan Bailey on those books, because nobody knows who Rachel Kavanagh. Not many people know who Morgan Bailey is, but nobody really knows who Rachel Kavanagh is. And when I go to WIs, they go, "Who's that?" I said, "Well, it's me, and as a writing women's fiction." And it's not really, and the print is too small for them, so I'm going to do large print. So I have a long jobs list similar to Daniel, so I'm going to release everything as large print as well. And now I've got Atticus, it makes it a lot. It's literally one click, just make sure that on the paperback it all fits the page, and then save it and upload it to Amazon. Because I've done that for one of my friends, which I don't know if you see, is called Wave Goodbye, and he knows a lot of people. So you've got Writers and Artists Yearbook, and then his first book, which was Essex, Drugs and Rock and Roll,
Oh, wow.
and then Wave Goodbye, and then one on the left is 10 pitch, which he's been told the font is too small, which it is really. I've redone it as a 12, and then the brick on to the right of it is 16. And that is massive, but that's standard for large print. And he's very well connected, and so in the cinema, he sent me videos of it on the TV around Good Morning Britain. And in the cinema, he's running, friends of his are running a campaign where you have this cabin in a cruise ship. It's set on a cruise ship, a cabin and cruise ship, and there's a bookcase, and out comes the book, and then it's got that, and then a QR code for Amazon. So he's got a £200,000 campaign free because he knows the right people.
Very good.
Astounding. So I've published that for him. So he's every couple of days I send him a screenshot of his sales. So there we go. Yes, they do say it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But we just have to do what we do and enjoy it.
We do. Most
And there's
enjoyable.
loads of enjoyment to be had.
Exactly. So see you both soon, hopefully.
Well, I think taboo subjects, taboo topics is
You
next
are.
week.
Yes,
I hope
you
I'm not
are.
the only one on it, you know?
You are at the moment, yes.
Oh,
I am.
no.
We were talking about having marketing help. I've bought. I did do my due diligence. There's some social media scheduling software called Content 360, which covers loads of platforms. Everything. I am everywhere, but I don't do a lot on many of them. And that will schedule ahead. So help me schedule ahead. So that will be my marketing help. Once I get that up and running, then I will be touting. But Sarah, I know on Threads and Instagram that you post about
I
these.
write on Instagram, it populates Threads, so
Threads.
I
Yeah,
don't
likewise.
technically put it on there, but it goes on there.
Yeah, likewise. Yes, no, I appreciate it. Yes, I often see
No worries.
those pop up. So thank you both. We could keep talking.
We could actually, but there we are.
Yeah.
I need to eat. My husband's just
Yeah.
cooking dinner, so I probably need
I
to eat
know
something
Annabelle
soon.
wants to watch Sewing Bee at 8.
Oh, okay.
She does tapestry cushions. That's her
Oh,
creative
lovely.
flair there.
Lovely. Brilliant. Well, Tim goes out on a Tuesday and Thursday night, hence me doing these. And so he cooked early, which was great.
No, it's great.
So thank you both, as always.
Thank you very much.
Good
Bye for
to meet
now.
you.
Love to meet you, Sarah. Bye for now.